Welcome, friends. Today, we are doing a final impressions video. Wondrous. That's right, friends. Once again, I am back. This time, with a final impressions video on the house of Neela Vermeire. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this as succinct as possible. And as not necessarily brief, but I'm going to try not to waffle on a bit. But I do want to make a couple of points. I have tried these, all of them, as I always do, on paper. But I've also tried them all on skin. There were two separate selections. There was the Mainline, Neela Vermeire Creations, and Fragments by Neela Vermeire Creations. From my initial sort of testing, I kind of figured out that there were four which I felt were for me, and that I would be trying on skin. The four were, Treyi, Mochur, Nemus, and Diana. Of those four, I found that from the Mainline, Treyi and Mochur were they're good quality perfumes. You know, they're all good quality perfumes. So I enjoyed the sampling process. I don't know if you can see, but you can tell that I've put dents in the samples on the left compared to the ones on the right in this case. Tried them and was kind of like, I'd went through my process and decided that none of those would be for me, especially like Bombay Bling, which was like mango and fruity and sweet, and it was interesting. And if you're into like that kind of thing, then please try it. But the two that interested me most were Mochur and Treyi. Now, I found Treyi to be a smoky floral kind of affair. The jasmine, clove, saffron kind of thing, vetiver, all kind of brought this kind of dark, smoky feel that I really enjoyed. But I have dark, smoky perfumes, and I thought, is this good enough to break into the collection? It's certainly a good and well-made perfume with good ingredients. But for 200 quid for 60 mil? No, not for me. Mochur, I really struggled with, but in a good way. I struggled with the thought of buying it. It's got this kind of dark, spicy rose thing, but in the end, the rose was a little too plump. It was a little too juicy. It was a little too Turkish delight. It was pretty. It was juicy. That's the best way to put it. It was a juicy rose. And I thought this would be a great fragrance on a young woman, a serious young woman, but the rose was a little too, it was a little too rosy, a little too fruity for me. And so I decided against it. The other four didn't really progress any further than trying them on stick a couple of times. Just not for me. On to the fragments. Of the fragments, there were three. There's Nemus, Purpureum, and Diana. Purpureum I wrote off almost immediately, and was happy to do so because I smelled a fat amber wood, and it wasn't ideal. I was upset. But Nemus and Diana are another matter. Nemus I thought was amazing. I got this kind of fresh woody bergamot, slightly incensey, slightly floral kind of. I'm going to put some on now. A little bit naturally sweet, not unnaturally sweet, which is basically what designers are like these days. That bergamot at the top is one of the finest. It is beautiful. It really is. And it dries down more woody. It dries down a little darker from the zesty, outgoing top. If it stayed that way with like lemon, ginger, bergamot all playing a huge role at the top, if it stayed that way, if there was a bit of iris in here, to just carry it along instead of oud and nagamotha, I think this could have been a buy. It reminds me a bit of Nexon by Tower, which is no bad thing because I've bought a lot of that stuff and I love it. But in the end, I thought these are even more expensive, and the bottles are woeful. The bottles are just standard square bottles, and yes, they've spent a lot of money on the perfumer. Yes, they've spent a lot of money on ingredients. Clearly, they just fall short of something that I think they fall just short. They exceed the standard in perfume these days, but they fall short of what they are trying to be, what they want to be, which is elite level niche perfumes. I don't think they reach that mark yet. Thyena, again, a fantastic perfume. Smoky. I'll put some of this on as well. I'm not touching that Purpureum. Yuck. Big amber wood. Big scary amber wood. Frightened us. Made us run away. You don't need much of these. But these are even more expensive, than the aforementioned collection. This has a lovely, lovely lavender. Like a violety lavender sort of thing. It smells like the colour of lavender. It's beautiful. It's a little creamy. There's a little bit of darkness. Much better on skin than it is on stick. But I know that a lot of people will say that. But I just smell these. I get the coffee out of it. It's got a touch of Eau Noir about it, but without the specialness of Eau Noir. Excuse me. So difficult for me to justify to myself to buy it. I feel like I've got other things that do it and do it better, even though this is really good. If you don't have a vintage Eau Noir, if you don't have an Unum allows by Filippo Sorcinelli, then maybe this line is for you. maybe these perfumes are for you. I would highly recommend that you try them and sample them for yourself. Get your own opinion. If they sound interesting, they are good quality perfumes. They're not just run-of-the-mill. They're not trying to play on any trends. They're not the same as everything else that's out there, which is good. They're creative and they're well made. Maybe you will like them more than I would. I would have no problem recommending people to sample them, you know. But for me to buy one, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's getting increasingly difficult for any perfume to get into my collection, and that's kind of going to be the story of next year. And so if you like the sound of that, please stick around. And I will see you all then. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Bye.